Hey guys, this is Desi Fines, and we are back at it again. Let me fix my mic. We are back at it again, and today we are going to be recapping the entirety of Gossip Girl. We're not going to do the entirety of Gossip Girl in this episode, but we're going to be taking this by an episode basis, or sometimes it will be like a couple episodes in one video because it's pretty long. Gossip Girl is really long, so come along on the ride. Just like because Blake Lively is in Gossip Girl, and this is the role she is most known for as Serena van der Woodsen, I'm just gonna let it be known, I will not be talking about the Blake Lively complaint or making mention of her bad behavior while this show was being produced. Just because I feel like it's gonna be the elephant in the room, I will state this.
There was an article recently saying that Leighton and I were frenemies, and it's
I think I'm just brunette because of the books.
Another promise was I know Pet Monkey. Chuck has a matching Pet Monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them. Come on, it was a joke. Lord have mercy.
Your wardrobe?
That is important.
There has been stories for years. Even when I was just a little kid watching Gossip Girl, I knew about this. Like, she's like having beefs with her co-stars. Like, there was always stuff in the articles. There was always stuff on the web. There was always like YouTube videos of her being rude to other co-stars. There was always that out there. And because those videos were always out there, Blake Lively didn't need a smear campaign. There was always rumors.
Do you see a message in the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that
even on the show,
any women that see it, if they relate to Lily in any way, that they feel empowered and they feel seen and they feel heard and they find some hope to take steps to change their life. It's incredibly challenging to be in any situation that is remotely close to what Lily's going through.
Yes.
Yeah, even petty stuff like that. As long as she continued to be the main lead for a movie or be in the main cast, and she did not clean up her act, there was always going to be a situation where this ends with us. In point blank period, her nice dresses and frankly her beauty and her connections in the industry kept these things from getting on a scale like this. She basically was protected. She had her image with Ryan Reynolds. She had like her connections as a Nepo baby protecting her. But people's changing view on celebrity and celebrity culture, this was all gonna come out as long as she wasn't gonna like ride off into the sunset with like her and her husband's billions of dollars. Like this was always gonna happen. But these rumors that I stated, this was also widely known in the industry. And bottom line, be Team You. There can be multiple things true at once. That Blake Lively is frankly rude and dismissive to crew and cast. To many people, bottom line. But she was subjected to everything that was stated in the complaint. You can have sympathy, empathy for an asshole. But the things that happen to that asshole does not all of a sudden negate all their past behavior. They're still an asshole, and you can recognize that they're an asshole and still have sympathy and empathy for them. But I'm tired of going into comic sections talking about this situation. There'd be Team Blake, Team Justin. Be Team You. These people don't care about you. Be Team You. Like, understand there is nuance in this situation. There's a lot of nuance in this situation that she can, like I said, be frankly not a nice person, but also be a victim. No victim is perfect. And you guys got to get this out of your mind who are still Team Justin. And those of you who are Team Blake, you still got to remember what she has done in the past and even during this road trip. And I would just say one thing. Even in the marketing papers, no one told her to say grab your florals and go watch this movie about domestic violence. That one she still has to take the L for because that's not in the papers. And then bottom line, you can still have empathy, sympathy for a person while holding them accountable for their actions. There's no perfect victim. These allegations coming to light does not negate her horrible past behavior. So, let's get on to Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl is a cultural zeitgeist. From the clothing, to the slang used in the show, to the music, to the belief of what social media would be like today. Its commentary on the public's view of celebrities and what celebrities are like behind closed doors. Gossip Girl is frankly one of a kind. There will never be a show like it again. Let's get into the recap because there's been way too much talking. Spotted Serena van der Woodsen getting off the train in Grand Central Station. The show opens with Serena van der Woodsen looking out her train window as she's passing the city in her Hannah Montana getup. And this girl Melanie with her tight bob.
What's wrong with the bob? Your bob don't like her. They're just tight.
Goes and takes a picture of Serena trying to find her driver. Like a stalker. It's weird. And side note, I'm gonna need people to stop taking pictures of just strangers secretly and taking videos of them because that's weird. Stop it. And may I just say, Serena van der Woodsen / Blake Lively can only look so perfect searching for someone in like a crowded place, because if it was me, I'd be like, I would not look nearly as beautiful as she does looking for this person. From Gossip Girl's little monologue that she often has in between scenes, we learned that Serena van der Woodsen vanished one day, and all that was known was that she went off to boarding school in Connecticut. Then we see Rufus Humphrey looking how I would look, looking for his kids in a crowded place. Rufus is coming to Grand Central Station to pick up his 2 kids, Jenny Humphrey and Dan Humphrey, from their little vacation spending time with their mother in Hudson. So from this little conversation, we learn that Rufus and his wife Allison are separated. She's living in Hudson, he's living in Brooklyn. Like, they separate. So Rufus, oh my god. You'll learn, and like, for the men in the Humphrey family, they have this medical condition called foot and mouth syndrome. So Rufus goes and asks his children, how is Allison, his wife, doing? And Dan and Jenny, not trying to like hurt their dad, they're like, she's good. But truthfully, she ain't worried about Rufus, but Rufus is worried about her. We cut to Blair Waldorf in the bathroom at her mother's party. She's in the bathroom when she gets a blast from Gossip Girl that Serena is back in town. And then Gossip Girl lets it be known that everyone thought that Blair's boyfriend, Nate Archibald, seemed to have a thing for Serena. From Blair's facial expressions, we can tell that she's not very happy to see her best friend. So what does Blair do after she gets the blast? She goes and snatches up her boyfriend Nate. She goes and snatches him up. So before Blair like grabbed this man, Nate was having a conversation with his father, the captain, and his father's friend. In this conversation, Nate is asked where does he want to go for college? Like, where is he thinking about going to college? What are his top schools? Because Blair, Serena, Dan, Chuck, as we'll meet soon. Wait, hold up. Let me pull you closer. Let me pull you closer real quick. Let me pull you closer. I'm gonna hold your hand while I say this. I mean this with like the kindness heart. Let me hold your hand. Who the fuck likes Chuck? I get if you like him, like, later down the season. But I see you on the Reddit. Because I wanted to see how people's, like, perception of Chuck was. I see you on Reddit, and you apologist. You Chuck apologist. I got something for you. Let me put you back. I got something for you. Because you know why I'm acting like this. If you know the first episode of Gossip Girl, you know. Shit, I'm gonna have to roll up my arms real quick. Because Chuck is not leaving here without getting bopped a couple of times. So anyway, back to Nate. Nate is asked what are like his top schools. And so Nate is like, well, I'm thinking about, the West Coast, UCLA, right? But Nate's dad, the captain, jumps in and he's like, well, I'm a Dartmouth guy. Okay, Nate. I'm glad you're a Dartmouth guy. Like, are you a junior in high school? Are you Nate Archibald? Do you have a girlfriend named Blair? Like, the question wasn't aimed at you. But anyway, now let's hear what the actual junior wants. And Nate just kind of like submits, and he's like, yeah, you know, Dartmouth is my top school. And Nate just has like the saddest look in his eyes as he like submits to his father. And like you could just see that Nate is just picking his battles. Like, having a fight in front of your dad's friend is not gonna be a good look. So he just lets it go. So Blair snatches Nate up and they go into a bedroom. So Blair is a woman on a mission. She knows it's only a matter of time till Miss Vanderwoodson makes her way over to their zip code. So she's trying to... I want to make a joke, but Blair, Serena, Nate, Chuck, they're like 16 in the show. So I feel a little bit weird about making like a joke, you know, about and want to be YouTube friendly, but just know Blair's trying to do with Nate in this bedroom. You see each other? Blair tells Nate as they're kissing that she loves him. And Nate, in the driest way ever, says, I love you too. Like, he is as dry as the Sahara. And his heart is not in it. But Blair is not quick enough. And guess who rolls up to the party? Serena. Like, you knew who was rolling up. So I don't even know why I was like saying guess who. So Nate hears that Serena's at the party and he gives Blair the deuces. He's literally like, don't you want to go say hi? Wait, hold up. Okay, it's red because I'm going to say something. If Nate saying I love you dry as hell is not enough for Blair to dump him, if Nate saying I love you dry as hell is not enough for Blair to throw that man away, then surely him being so quick to throw away some first time jujitsu with Blair to say hi to some damn Serena Vanderwoodson should be enough for her to throw him away. But she doesn't. Because Lord, if a man was just so quick to stop getting it on with me to say hi to some damn friend, his ass would be dropped quicker than Pharaoh was dropped from Destiny's Child. So Serena sees her mom, Lily Vanderwoodson. She cryptically says, where is he? And her mother's being coy, and Serena is just not having any of it. So she quickly deducts that he's not here. Who's he at the moment? We don't know. So Nate wanders out to the hallway and he sees Serena. And Nate looks all happy. And Serena is not so happy to see him. So this is where I had to look up if Leighton Meester ever got like a Golden Globe or an Emmy for her work as Blair on Gossip Girl. Sadly, she does not have an Emmy or Golden Globe for her role. But we have to appreciate the look Leighton gives Serena. That like look was pure gold. With the song What Goes Around Comes Around by Justin Timberlake playing in the background. Like, the scene is just masterclass in acting from Leighton Meester. And then the poker face that she was trying to hide as she's seeing her best friend for the first time in, like, a couple of, like, over a year. And let's just say Leighton has done a wonderful job acting in Gossip Girl. Truly one of the best actors on the show. And the acting in the show does get a little dicey at times. So Serena sees Blair and she's not happy to see Blair either. She looks more nervous than like the unhappiness that she saw like when she saw Nate. But Blair hugged Serena, and you could just tell that Serena was just uncomfortable. So Blair and her mother like gush over Serena. They're talking about how they'll set up a plate next to Blair. They're talking about drinks while Serena's talking about heading to the door. Serena was there for less than 5 minutes and she dipped. So Blair goes back to Kati and Iz, I believe that's their name, and she lets it slip that she didn't have any idea that Serena was coming back. And so she tries to play it off that she knew, but no one was buying it. And so her little minions start typing away on their phone, probably making a blast of Gossip Girl. So Serena goes to the Ostros Center, and we find out who's the he that she was talking about. And it's her little brother, Eric. So when she gets there, Eric is asleep. So Serena decides to stay, and she sleeps in like the visiting chair. And I know her neck had to be hurting. From sleeping like this, her neck had to be hurting. It had to. This is a really cute scene. Eric wakes up, and then he wakes up Serena, and they hug. Then right on cue, Lily, their mom, shows up. Serena wants to take Eric out for breakfast. And Lily's like, we got food here. Lily's like, we got a croissant cart up the street. That will do. And also, Lily just sounds rich. Like, she just like croissant. Like, the way she says that, if I can find a clip, I'll put it up here. But the way she says croissant is just like, the way she says croissant just lets you know that she has never been in any other tax bracket than for people who make $1 million and up. You just know that she is a part of the 1% with the way she says stuff. So Serena and Lily go back and forth by the elevator. Lily is hiding the fact that Eric is in a mental health facility. And so Eric is in this facility because he tried to, let me put the YouTube friendly, because he tried to put a period on the end of life. Does that make sense? Okay, screw it. I'm not doing it. He tried to commit suicide. Serena says to her mother that Lily is just trying to save her image. And Lily, frankly, sets her straight. Serena ran away. And she was doing God knows what with God knows who. While Lily was here dealing with everything. And just a side note, from the little taste that we get, is that everybody is up in everybody's business. Nobody really wants to hear the real stuff that's going down in personal lives. I can only imagine what would happen if everyone knew that Eric was in a facility because he tried to commit suicide. I imagine that he would not get the peace or privacy he needed to work on his mental health and peace. So I have to agree with Lily. Part of it is selfish, that she wants to protect her image in the community, but I can also understand that it's not just her trying to protect her image. It's her trying to give her son some peace to handle his mental health on his own without the prying eyes of the ton. Next, it's the first day of school. Dan and Jenny are having breakfast with Rufus. Rufus shows that his old band called Lincoln Hawk is on the Rolling Stones list for most forgotten bands of the 90s. And his band is listed at number 9. And his kids are low-key clowning him. There's a reason you've forgotten, Rufus, and maybe you shouldn't be so happy. And maybe you shouldn't be so happy about being forgotten, because Dan was like, well, wait to be forgotten. Oh my God. And may I just say, Jenny was sending shots in every single direction. No one was safe. At the kitchen counter where they're eating, Jenny is sealing invitations for the Kiss on the Lips party that was happening in a few days. Because the deal is, if she made the invitations, that she would get an invitation herself to the party. But Dan lets it slip that he has never been invited to a party, and anytime he has been invited, It was by mistake. Rufus says something slick, like, about how Sweatshop should take, like, a lesson from Ginny and, like, her deal with these popular kids. Like, Ginny says, don't go on an anti-capitalism rant when you send us to private school. And Rufus is like, would you rather go to public school? And then Ginny, without wasting a single breath, says, would you rather I wrote this down. Would you rather I be a loser who never gets invited to parties and eats lunch alone? Dan is like, so he's like, basically, if it works for me, it could work for you. Because that shot was fired at Dan. So Ginny says, well, her mom thinks this deal, like her doing the invitations, is a good idea. To get invited to this party is a good idea. And Rufus says, like your mother is the face of sound judgment. And everyone is like. So Rufus realizes that he took it a step too far. And he apologizes and says if she wants to go to that party, then she should go. But only if he knew what was going to go down at this party, he probably would have banned her. So Serena is heading home to the Palace Hotel from the Ostroff Center. Lily and her are living at the Palace Hotel because Lily is renovating their penthouse for the umpteenth time. But guess who's waiting outside for Serena? Nate. But Serena is not having nary bit of it. She doesn't want to hear it. She tells Nate, 1, I didn't come back for you. 2, my best friend is Blair. 3, you're her boyfriend. So dummy, get off my step. So Dan is dipping and dodging between cars, trying to get to the bus stop. So Chuck and Nate are riding the bus. And before I go on any further, come closer. Come closer. Chuck apologist, I want you to listen to my words of this next part and what your man said. What your man said, I want you to listen. So now back. Because this is his words. Chuck says, Serena looks so perfect. That level of perfection needs to be violated. Sir? The door. Hop out on 42nd Street. The door. Nate is not impressed. And Chuck says, you never thought about getting it on with Serena? And Nate says, I have a girlfriend. You will understand in a little bit why I'm making these faces. So Chuck goes on to say, Blair's basically throwing her virginity at you, so seal the deal, Negro. Bro, seal the deal, Nate. So anyway, it's the stop to get off at St. Jude's. I think that the boys' part of it is called St. Jude's. Anyway, this is a stop to get off for their school. So Dan is also on this bus, and he's moving to like the exit. And Chuck turns around and asks Dan, are you following us? Chuck turns around in his ugly ass scarf and asks Dan, are you following us? Hold on, I'm gonna need Chuck to do some deductive reasoning. Dan has on the same shirt, the same tie. The jacket looks better than what you have on right now, and the same pants. Context clues, surrounding, the surroundings. The stop for your school is right here. So you didn't think he was, going to your school, because you're riding the public bus along with him. So it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility that this man goes to your school. So I'm just like, what's not clicking? Like, you looked him up and down. Now use that, like, those 2 brain cells and think about any other reason why he might get off the bus in the exact same uniform that you are in. So anyway, Dan makes a joke and Nate says so dryly, oh, he's funny. And like, they get off the bus. And so Dan's like to himself, like, hey, you want to get lunch? Penn Badgley's commute timing in Gossip Girl is chef's kiss. So Jenny is handing over the invitations to Blair Waldorf on the steps of the Met. Blair and her minions are just so impressed and shocked, and they really like Jenny's invitations. And the way they're fawning over it, I'm like, how good are these invitations? Because it's an invitation. It's not like it's a box and butterflies are flying out of it. So as they're fawning over these invitations, guess who rolls up? Serena. And so she's acting like the day before she did not just pull a Houdini at the party. 1 minute she was there and the next she was gone. So Blair is rightfully cold. So Serena sees an invitation and she just picks it up. And Blair is like, no. See, you were at boarding school and no one knew you were back until 12 hours ago. We didn't even know you would be back on this island. So you're not invited and we don't have any room, nor do we have any more invitations. So Jenny is about to pipe up and says she has an extra invitation. She can make an extra invitation. But Blair cuts her off and says, you can leave now. And Jenny does. Now Jenny, you know Blair is the head bitch in charge. And she's obviously making it known she does not want Serena at the party. And it's not your party, so who are you to say I can make an invitation? So Blair and her goons are about to leave, leaving Serena there with her yogurt, and Serena pipes up and stops them. I'm gonna give Serena her 10. She kind of ate this up. So Serena turns around and says, you want to meet at the Palace Bar tonight? Blair says she got something with Nate. She says Nate can wait. Be at the bar at 8.
Think we can meet tonight?
I'd love to, but I'm doing something with Nate tonight.
The Palace. 8 o'clock? Nate will wait.
So Dan and Rufus are going around hanging up flyers for a Lincoln Hawk show. So Jenny sends Dan a 911 text and an address. And so Dan says, I got to go to Rufus. And he says, are you going to be all right? So Dan meant, is he going to be all right hanging up all the posters by himself? So Rufus starts talking about he thinks he's going to be all right. And, that Dan's mother, Allison, was always free. And that's what he fell in love with her for. Her free spiritness. And so Dan's like, yeah, that's nice to hear, but I wasn't asking you about that. That wasn't what I meant. So Dan meets Jenny at a department store. I think it's called Bindle's. And so she sent a 911 text to Dan to help her decide on a dress to make for the Kiss on the Lips party, because the actual dress she is wearing is too expensive for her to buy. And I can't blame Jenny for calling Dan over here under false pretenses of an actual emergency, because her mother's gone. Her dad is not into this type of stuff, so she looks to her big brother to pick up the slack where her parents failed to pick it up. So she needed her brother. Though I can't blame her, I will admit that was a little sister move for that she did. How do I know it was a little sister move? Because I'm a little sister, and that's some shit I probably would have done. That's some shit I have done, actually. So I'm a little sister too, so I can spot little sister behavior. Bottom line. So Jenny sees Serena and Eric walking down the stairs. She says hi to Serena, and Dan sees Serena, and he leaves the soles of his shoes on the ground where he was standing to run and hide from Serena. You would think this woman had a bench warrant out for his arrest, the way he moved. So Serena's making an introduction from Jenny and her brother Eric. So Jenny's about to do the same for Dan, but she turns around and she's like, well, yeah, hi. She turns around and like Dan is nowhere to be found. He's like hiding between like a clothing rack. Like, Negro, she's just a man. She's just a man. Dan, she's just a woman. Dan, she's just a girl. God help. Like, this man act like he had like some snow in his pocket, and she was like she was a police officer. But Ginny goes and gives her an invitation that she made during her free period. And so Serena is grateful, and she goes and tells Jenny that the dress she's wearing would look great in black. And basically that's what she really needed Dan for, but Dan's not that man. So Nate and Chuck are walking through the park, smoking the devil's lettuce. Like smoking the devil's lettuce out in broad open daylight. Sounds about white. Sounds about white. So Nate knows he's about to seal the deal. Seal the deal. By the way, who gave Chuck the vernacular of an 80s villain? Seal the deal of a 90s movie goofball. Seal the deal? Okay, but anyway, I'm going to be using seal the deal because that's the best way I can say what's supposed to be happening. So Nate knows he's about to seal the deal, but he's walking around like someone just pissed in his cereal. Like he got regular Cheetos when he really wanted the flaming hot ones. So Chuck sees this and he's offering Nate some pharmaceuticals to help Nate out. But Nate is like in a full existential crisis. Like worse than like the 12th grade when I was in AP English and we started talking about this novel about a guy who turned into a cockroach or something and his family, like, you don't need to know that. I was having problems during my 12th grade. Let's just leave it at that. And so he was asking Chuck, of all people, about happiness and how their life seems like it's so planned out for them and like don't they deserve happiness. You're saying this to Chuck. I'll just say it again. You're saying this to Chuck. This is not the right conversation. This is not the person you want to have this conversation with. So Chuck actually made me chuckle. Chuck is like, slow down, Aristotle. Slow down, Socrates. We are owed a trust fund. We are owed an vacation house. Happiness is not on the list of what is owed. So pony up and seal the deal with Blair. So Blair and Serena are meeting at the hotel bar. Blair lets us know that her father left her mother for another man. And Blair made me chuckle. It's so bad that it just made me chuckle. Blair's is so like blasé that her mother got an eyebrow lift, lost some weight, and it's been good for her. Losing her husband, having her husband divorce him for like an affair has been good for her because of those two things. Oh my god. Basically during this conversation, Serena wants to mend things with Blair. But Blair talks about how she went to Serena's house after being worried that she didn't come to school and only for her to be told that Serena didn't tell you she's gone to boarding school in Connecticut. So Serena starts just talking about the good times and Blair relents, like reminiscing. It says Serena missed some Eleanor Waldorf style meltdown. And if it wasn't such a tragedy, it would have been funny. God help us. So they hug and Blair gets ready for her date with Nate. So Dan comes home after he skedaddled out of the department store. And Jenny is making her dress. So here we learn that Dan had a crush on Serena since the 9th grade. And during the 9th grade, he was invited to a party by accident because they thought he was someone else actually. And Serena was the only person at this party to talk to him. And so ever since that day, he has had a crush on her. And honestly, that's literally how crushes work. So I can't say anything. That's literally how crushes work. You see someone talks to you and you're like, damn, my heart fluttered a little bit. But anyway. So before Jenny's takeout arrives, she has to get Dan out of the house because she only ordered enough takeout for herself. Jenny tells Dan where Serena would be and that their dad will be working late tonight. And so Dan dipped. So Chuck rolls up. And Serena is at the bar and she is downing martinis. So Chuck and Serena go back and forth. Chuck says he's going to have to let his father know that the bartender is serving minors. And so just lets you know that Chuck's dad owns the palace. And Serena says if the bar starts serving him, then they would also be serving assholes. I gotta admit, that made me chuckle. Chuck says he loves when Serena talks dirty to him. And Serena claps back with, "You just love it when a girl talks to you." And Chuck made me chuckle. He says, "Actually, I prefer when they're not talking." I just was like, okay. That was a little bit funny. So Serena has been drinking on an empty stomach. And she tells Chuck that. So Chuck offers to have the kitchen make her a grilled cheese sandwich with truffle oil. And I never tasted truffle. So y'all just have to tell me if truffles are really that good, because I know like in 2018 there was like a big truffle hype, but I never had truffle because I'm just not built like that. I mean, my pockets are not built like that. So tell me if truffles are like that. So Serena's like, "I love truffles enough to know that that's not on the menu." So Chuck is like, "Well, I can make them for you," because, you know, he's the son of the owner of the hotel. Serena, she makes it clear between Chuck that she's only going with him for a sandwich, and that is it. So Nate shows up to Blair's place, and Nate tells Blair that he has something to tell her. So Chuck pays the chef to close down the kitchen early, and all the rest of the staff leaves. So Serena is just grubbing on the sandwich. She's loving it. And Chuck goes and says he knows a couple ways for Serena to thank him. But boy, it's just a sandwich. Even broke men don't expect anything after a sandwich. Maybe a dinner at Longhorn, but like not a sandwich, a grilled cheese. That's like expecting something after like buying a girl a Starbucks sandwich or a Panera sandwich. Like, boy, it's low hanging fruit. Like, boy, no. So Serena is in disbelief. Like, this man did not just say that I can return some additional favors to him for a sandwich, a grilled cheese at that. So Serena honestly turns him down, and Chuck says, "Why are you worried that Nate would find out?" Chuck knows what happened between Serena and Nate. So last year, one of the reasons Serena left was because of the Shepherd wedding. Serena got very drunk and was trying to open a bottle of champagne, and Nate was there with her. I guess babysitting her, making sure she doesn't get into too much trouble. So Serena was having trouble opening the bottle, so Nate is like, "Give the bottle here, I'll open it." So Nate tries to grab the bottle from Serena, and they get into a tussle. The cork pops open, and they both get champagne drenched on them. And so then they start to make out, and it leads to them hooking up. So Blair is told this, and she does not want to believe it. She was so willing to just believe that it ended with them kissing, when she knows it was more than that. But Nate lets it be known that it was more than that. So Chuck, like a creep, is watching from the balcony. Like a creep. And Chuck begins to try to rape Serena. And Serena is fighting back, and she knees Chuck in the crotch and runs off. So Serena runs off, and she runs straight into Dan. So she dropped all her stuff, including her phone, and she's just such in a hurry to pick up her stuff and leave that she forgets to pick up her phone, and Dan picks it up. And when he tries to get her attention, she just does not see him and leaves. The audacity on this man. Then after what we know Chuck just tried to do, he has the nerve to look Dan up and down as he's walking out of the bar. I know you fucking lying. I know you fucking lying. This man just tried to rape a woman and he's looking up and down. Dan? Get him off my screen. Get him off my screen. I had enough for him. But his audacity is not just in there. Blair kicks Nate out of her house, rightfully so, and breaks up with him. She says she always knew something happened between the two. She just didn't know what. And she's left there crying. So Nate and his dad go for a morning jog, and Nate just seems like he has like a weight lifted off of him, and he's happy. So Nate is happy that things are done between him and Blair. So he lets his dad know about the breakup, and Nate's dad tries to remain cool. See, Blair's mom owns a fashion company, and she's about to take her company from private to public. That means it's like on like the stock market and stuff like that. And there's shareholders now, like, you know, business. Because of Nick's connection to Blair, Blair's mom, Eleanor, is using the captain to Nate's dad. So Nate's dad says in order for him to seal this deal, he needs Nate to get back with Blair. So Dan is trying to get Serena back her phone, so he's at the concierge, the doorman. I don't even know if I said concierge right. And he's just trying to like leave this phone at the desk. And I want to know how much this concierge gets paid, because if someone gives me the phone that they picked up from the bar, I'm like, okay, I'll give it back to her. I'm not asking any questions. But this man like interrogates Dan. I'm like, and then I think about it, I'm like, well, the palace is like a rich hotel, so they just don't want anyone like wandering in here. So he's like questioning him. And he's asking Dan, like, what was Dan doing at the bar if he's not a guest here? If he's not a guest at the hotel. So, like I said in the beginning, Dan has a medical condition called foot and mouth. And so he proceeds to insert his whole foot up to his knee. His calf knee. He was trying to get his thigh in there, into his mouth, down his throat. And he goes and he says, I have this down. He says when Prince Charming found Cinderella's shoes, no one accused Prince Charming of having a foot fetish. So the concierge is like, so you're Prince Charming? So Serena passes by, and the doorman like calls her over. And so Dan starts panicking. He's like, she won't remember me. I'm forgettable. You see this face? Forgettable. And he's like trying to just like take the phone. Please let me go. But Serena comes over, and the concierge asks Serena, do you know this young man? And he's like, Serena remembers him. And so Dan's like shocked. So he turns back to the concierge. He's like, she remembers me. Dan is grateful. Serena is grateful to Dan for returning her phone because she's been looking for it. So Lily comes up with a bunch of shopping bags. And so she comes up to Serena. She's like, I have the perfect dress for you to wear to the Kiss on the Lips party. But Serena doesn't want to go because of the incident with Chuck, knowing that he would be there. So she makes up a lie real quick. So she says she has a date with Dan, but she doesn't know Dan's name. So she just points to him. Like, I actually have plans with this guy. And so Dan's like, So Dan introduces himself to Lily. And Lily's not buying this. So Lily asks, what are they going to be doing on this date? And Serena is acting like she has never made up a lie. She does not know how to lie. She was cursed with Pinocchio syndrome. And like every time she lies, like her nose just like keeps growing. It would be so quick to just say we're going out to dinner. But no, she looks to Dan, and so she's like expecting him to lie. So Dan like really quickly is like, we're actually going to see like a concert, a band called Linkin Hawk. They're actually number 9 on the Rolling Stones list for the most forgotten bands. And so Lily is not impressed. But you know, Lily is a glass half empty type of girl. And so she just says, you know, well, I guess I'll just keep the dress for myself. So Nate and Blair meet at a sushi place. Nate is telling everything Blair wants to hear, that he'll ignore Serena. She'll be like air. She won't talk. Like he won't talk to her. Blair is happy to have her eyes wide shut and just believe everything Nate is telling her. And she just takes Nate back with minimal effort done on his part. So Lily shows up to Rufus's gallery. She wants to interrogate Rufus on why Dan and Serena are going out to see one of his concerts. So Lily accuses Rufus of using his son and her daughter to get close to Lily again and start something, especially now after his wife left him. So I'm sitting there like, how do you know Allison left Rufus? Like, how do you know? So Lily just says it's a small island. She just says it's a small island. But Rufus does an Uno reverse and accuses Lily of doing the same thing that she accused him of. And Lily says, in your dreams, I would do something like that. And Rufus is not going to let her slink away from just accusing him of using his son to start something back up with Lily. He says, well, you are in my dreams, Lily. Particularly one where you have your shoes and your earrings and your hair and one of the members of Nine Inch Nails in the back of their tour bus. And he's like, wait, no, that's not a dream. That actually happened. And Lily says, let the past stay in the past. So Lily in her head says, okay, my turn, so he wants to bring up Nine Inch Nails. So this is what she says. She says, you think you're so cute. You think you're so cute, don't you? With your washed up band and your crappy little gallery. So this is where I learned where Jenny learned how to keep her foot on someone's neck. Because Rufus retorts with this. My crappy little gallery, well, not everyone has settlements from divorces to sustain their lifestyles. 40, love. So later that day, Dan and Jenny are getting ready to go on to their respective event. So Dan heads out the door as Rufus is coming in, but Rufus sees Jenny and he is like, looks at her, and I think this is like the first time that he recognizes that this is like no longer his little girl. This is like she is coming into her own. She looks like her mother. She looks like she's a grown-up. And so he's proud and shocked. But everyone is going to their events. And this is just such a cute moment between Serena and Dan. Like, Dan and Serena see each other for the first time in like for their date. But it's like they're seeing each other for the first time. And Dan's just looking up at Serena like, this is like the most beautiful girl like I have ever seen. I think Serena sees that it's not like with Nate or with Chuck that Dan's not looking at her with lust, but he's looking at her like she's a person. So we're at the Kiss on the Lips party. So Chuck sees Jenny and he zeroes in on her. At the same time, Serena and Dan are making their way to the concert. Dan introduces Serena to his dad on the first date. And I don't think Dan is realizing that he's introducing Serena to his parents when they barely know each other. But Rufus is introduced to Serena, so he's like, this is Serena Vanderwoodson. And everyone's like looking like, I'm like over here like, you pulled out her government name? Rufus, foot and mouth. So Dan looks at Rufus like, what are you doing? And Dan gets his foot and mouth from his dad. And Rufus just goes to try to save himself. He says, I don't know how I know her name. And so Rufus points out that they're kind of early. And so Dan kind of over a lot of time for travel to the venue. So they're just there early. And so it's awkward until Rufus is pulled away to tune a guitar. And then Serena rightfully pokes fun at Dan for introducing his father to her on the first date. And they just have some cute banter going back and forth as they're trying to find something to do to kill time. So Chuck takes some champagne and glasses and takes Jenny upstairs away from people. He starts to kiss Jenny and Jenny just looks completely uncomfortable. Chuck recognizes it and he pulls away. Jenny makes it known that she would rather go back down to the party, but Chuck says, why doesn't she just drink some more champagne instead of going back down? So Chuck knows that she's uncomfortable and that she'd rather be downstairs with people, but instead of fulfilling her request, he decides to pour her alcohol. The bar is in hell. He's trash. So Jenny quickly texts Dan. So Dan gets like a text message, and so at first it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like, it's a 911 text, and he's like, he's about to walk till she sends the second text, like, no, this is emergency. You know, Chuck. And so Dan is a good brother, and he automatically shuts down his dream date with his dream girl, and he's like, my sister needs me, so I have to like go. Dan tells Serena that Jenny's having problems with this guy named Chuck, and so Serena like offers to come along, and she tells Dan like, no, if it's Chuck, then everything's not okay, and it's serious. So they get into the party, and they look for Jenny everywhere. So someone sends a blast to Gossip Girl, and everyone now knows Serena is at the party. So Blair finds out, and she's about to kick Serena out. And Nate stops her and like, it's like, are you really gonna kick her out? So Blair understandably thinks that Nate invited Serena. And he's like, no. And it kind of looked like Nate was about to go walk over to Serena. So Blair stops him and says, don't talk to her. And so Nate says he's not. He's going for a walk. But Nate is acting like Blair's acting ridiculous for thinking that he invited her and thinking that he was going to talk to her. But I'm over here thinking like, it's been less than 48 hours since she found out you cheated on her with her best friend. So this is kind of the bare minimum of like what she could be doing to you. Like, you have to at least grovel for like a couple months. She doesn't trust you. It's easy to believe that you're the one who invited her, so deal with it. So Serena and Dan can't find Jenny on the first floor. So Serena has the idea to check upstairs. As they're walking up the stairs, they see Chuck's ugly ass scarf, and they burst onto the rooftop. And Chuck is trying to rape Jenny. Like, he has like her wrist in his hands, like holding her there. Oh my god. So when Chuck hears Dan and Serena, he lets go of Jenny, and Jenny runs into Dan's arms. So Dan really quickly checks over Jenny and sends her over to Serena. And he goes over to Chuck to beat him the fuck up. So Dan pushes Chuck, and Chuck gives this weakest excuse. He goes and he says, it's a party. Things happen. Who are you anyway? So, see, Dan lets Chuck know who the fuck he is. He says, 1, how many times do I have to tell you? This is our 3rd time meeting in 48 hours. 4, I'm that guy. 5, I'm Dan freaking Humphrey. 6, and I'm her brother. He then punches the hell out of Chuck. So Serena pulls Dan away and tells Chuck to never touch Jenny again. Chuck, with his bloody fucking nose, goes and says to Serena, your life is over, you slut. And he says, I know everything. I'm gonna be real frank with you, Chuck. No one cares. No one cares about you, rapist. And Serena slams the door. So Jenny, Serena, and Dan are leaving. Everyone is looking at them. They leave. Blair looks mad. Nate's over in the corner sobbing. Like, he's not sobbing. He's just somberly like drinking a beer outside. Sounds about rich. Nate looks sad, and I just don't feel bad. I don't. But before Dan and Serena get into the cab, Dan asks Serena if there's any chance for another date. And Serena says it's going to be hard to top this date that they're on. And I'm sitting here like, Jenny almost got raped. But anyway, they're playing a feel-good song, so I guess that means not to take what happened too seriously. Like, my problem is that you can't just erase what Chuck did 2 times. You can't just erase that. Certain things you can't erase, like a character doing. Like, one of them is rape. There's just certain things that there's like you can't just gloss over. And even if Jenny forgives Chuck, that doesn't negate what he actually tried to do. So Chuck comes waddling out, holding his ugly ass scarf to his nose, and Blair, she says, Serena better not come around here again. Chuck says, I hope she does. And that's it for this episode. Now I got some words for Chuck, Nate, and Serena. Chuck, let's start with you. How can someone with so much money have clothes that look like that? This man looks like he went to the Old Navy in the early 2000s and looked at every single mannequin they have on display and decided that was going to be his wardrobe. How are you going to have the Brandon Urie haircut with a middle class preppy frat boy style? I hope this does not sound too wild, but to have Chuck be a rapist, an attempted rapist, and to also have him styled like that, the writers, producers, director, they had to choose one atrocity. You can't have both. You can't have both. Choose one atrocity that this character is going to have. He can't have two atrocities. Personally, I would prefer if like that one atrocity would be his style, but you chose two atrocities that you made him a rapist and you made him have horrible style. Like choose. Like the writers, directors have to choose one atrocity that Chuck commits because it's double homicide for his character to wear clothes like that and assault girls. And so just know, this is me toning down. If this was the last trifling thing Chuck did during the first season, I would go all in. But it's not. If this was the last trifling thing, I would continue. But this isn't. So there's more to come. So let's go on to Serena. Serena, you're low. To sit there and smile in your friend's face when you know you fucked her boyfriend is diabolical. And not a nice smile and mediocre niceties doesn't change the fact that you did some snake shit. And being drunk is an excuse. And then Nate, you want to sit up here with your Erewhon sea moss blue eyes and give the audience puppy dog eyes because your life isn't easy. Wipe your tears on the way to the bank while you still have some money. You were somewhat sober when you slept with your girlfriend's best friend. Like, I see a lot of people want to say, like, Nate is, like, the best guy on the show. But he's not. And just because Nate is set next to the bottom of the barrel men does not make him the best. But just bottom line, Nate has flaws. And do I think he's a bad person? No, but let's not ignore all the trifling ass things Nate has done. But anyway, like, just a side note, if any man with, like, Chase Crawford's, like, eye color asks me for anything, I am having them turn around before I answer, because ain't no way you're gonna mesmerize me with your crisp blue eyes and like have me hypnotized to say what you want me to say. I'm having you turn around, I'm giving you my answer so I can think clear-headed, because his eyes are just like immaculate. Like, he has like the best like blue eyes I've ever seen on television. But that is it for the first episode. So I'm gonna let you guys know. This is just a little update because this is going to be released on New Year's Eve. So here's how this is gonna go down. I'm going to be covering the Peaky Blinders. I'm going to be covering Gossip Girl. I am going to be covering Interview with the Vampire and the rest of the season for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. For my video game side, I will be playing The Last of Us, but I'm like, I don't want to play The Last of Us. It's giving me anxiety because I know I have to like complete the series. I'm actually having nightmares about completing The Last of Us Part 1 because then I know Part 2 is up next and I'm having I'm having problems. And then we're also going to be having some sim gameplay also. So 2025 is a stack year for Desi Finds. So like, subscribe if you're interested in what I just said, what's going to be happening during like the first few months of 2025. And I will be playing some new cozy games, some comfort games. So I am also thinking about doing a little bit of GTA 5. So if any of that interests you, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. It feels so weird saying that, but I just see other people do it, so I feel like I have to do it. I am thinking about doing some giveaways in the future, so subscribe to stay notified on that. One is a vinyl giveaway, and another is a vinyl player giveaway, so if that interests you, subscribe. And that is it for me. XOXO, Desi Finds.